Yes, sir.
Oh,
Thank you.
pardon me. All right, everybody, we're going to get started here in just a second. We'll get the cameras going. Feel free to film, share this out. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to the Darwin Wall team. They were the ones that helped promote this. Tonight is about more than just estate planning and learning. We're going to actually give some great information, but $250 is going to go to McKenna, who's battling cancer, raising funds for what she's doing. I think Ben found her. So we're super grateful for that. But if you don't know about the Darwin Wall team, they're a real estate team. Darwin, do you want to say anything? Put them on the spot like that.
No, we're a real estate team, yeah. So thanks for coming. I don't have a spiel prepared. So no,
well, they're amazing. I know a lot of people that have worked with them. You know, I know Ben, Debbie, Wendy, just met Dustin. A lot of great people on their team. But they do 2 signature events every year, a golf tournament and Save Second Base, which is a pub crawl in downtown Chandler, and raises money for separate people. They're so fun. So we will make sure we share that out. If you guys didn't come here, invited by them. But you know, with that, we'll get started real quick, just so I can get an idea of who everybody is. Who invited you? Jorge. Okay, perfect. Brad. I heard Jorge. Anybody else?
No, I heard Brad.
Hey. All right. Hey, I got one. She's one of my advisors, so I appreciate that. And then I know you're with the Darwin Wall team because you're representing Muscular Moving Men. All right. And for the 2 in the back, who invited you tonight? Ben. All right.
That is McKenna.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, McKenna. How are you? You know, you never recognize people just from a photo. So we're excited to have you here, and thank you for coming. And the 2 in the back, Brad brought you guys, right? Awesome. And then who invited the 2 of you? Whitney. All right.
All
right. Sweet. Well, thank you guys for coming. So I'm just going to start rolling. My name is Josh Norris. Most of you guys, well, half of you have met me. Half of you have no idea who I am. I'm just kind of the guy standing up here talking about estate planning. But just a real quick background on how I got involved into this business. I had owned a company for 15 years, sold it in 2022, and had some pretty detrimental health things happen to me. I had heart failure for the 2nd time in 2 years. And this time when I went in the hospital, they gave me a couple of choices after about a week of going home and dying with medication over 90 days, or maybe they could help me for 6 months with what's called an inotrope, and which is an adrenaline that they hook you up to. Or they could put like a machine in me and maybe get me on a transplant list. And, you know, I've got a wife, got 3 beautiful kids, and option 3 sounded better because they could at least eventually sustain me. And something at 40 years old I never thought I would hear. Ended up getting a heart transplant after dying twice in the hospital. And during that time, Adela, who's one of the founders, her and Ariel founded Arrive Financial. They came to my hospital. They did my estate plan while I was in the hospital. By the way, not the most ideal time. So great job to all of you for not being in the hospital with that. But the things I didn't know is that with my power of attorney, my wife didn't automatically get to make decisions if something were to happen to me, right? We needed to establish a trust to make sure our assets were in there so that if, you know, I didn't know if insurance was going to pay for this. It ended up being $2.3 million, which thank God insurance did pay for it, but that would have bankrupted us. It would have put us in a bad spot. I've always been a huge believer in life insurance, and long story short, Ariel and Adela, I was looking to do something different. I had exited my company. I was the COO of the much bigger company, tired of the industry, and they were looking for a partner. And I was like, I love what you guys do. You help people on the retirement planning side, but to get all the safety nets in place. And estate planning is a huge piece of it. So I hope you guys get some great information tonight. Like I said, I'm going to tell a couple of jokes and just laugh for the camera if you can. But no, so estate planning, right? This is all about your legacy. This is about being able to pass on your legacy the way you want it to be. All right, so this is our team. This is Ariel and Adela. These are the founders of Arrive Financial. They've been in the industry for 19 years. They started Arrive Financial 9 years ago, have built an incredible company. I was very amazed that they offered me to come on and be a partner with them. but they built an amazing company. We have thousands and thousands of clients all over the country. Here in Bakersfield, California, are our primary markets, but we've got a lot of different clients. And what brings us here tonight is we want to talk about understanding estate planning essentials. We want to learn strategies to avoid probate. Anybody familiar with probate? Okay. So a lot of people that raise their hand usually have had somebody who has gone through it. And we'll get into the nitty gritty, but the real quick cliff note on it is your assets go to the courts and they get to decide where things go, right? Oh, and then lastly, we want to keep our family and assets protected. So what is estate planning? Simply put, it organizes your assets and affairs, and it puts all the documents in places. It ensures your wishes are fulfilled, and it manages preservation, administration, and distribution of assets. Simply put, everything that you want to happen before something happens to you can go to your loved ones the way you want it to. So who's estate planning for? Now, this is going to be an open, I want you to listen to these and then just tell me if you resonate. So this is for blended families. It's for families that have minor children or special needs or disabled adults, those with specific health or end-of-life wishes, individuals with assets in other states, homeowners or rental property owners, business owners, individuals seeking to avoid family conflicts. Who's had family conflicts? Who knows that a funeral just escalates family conflicts, right? And those wanting to minimize taxes and legal fees. Does this resonate with anybody? Does any of that resonate with you guys? Raise your hand if so. All right, awesome. Some of y'all are just shy or perfect. I don't know.
Why not? Thank you.
We know, Ben. So key components of estate planning. Now, the first part is a will. This is a legal document that outlines your wishes, right? A lot of times you'll hear that a will is just a wish on paper. That's not exactly true. A will, what it is a document that says, this is what I want to happen if I pass. The problem with just a will, and then the court gets to decide if and execute based on your behalf. A arrangement where your trustee manages assets for a beneficiary, avoids probate, reduces estate taxes, and protects assets. Essentially what this means is, think of a vault. You have a vault here, and now we fund all of your assets. This is going to be your homes, your properties, any paid off cars you would put into that vault. You add as a beneficiary to your life insurance, to your bank accounts, your retirement accounts, and all that, to where if something happened, all those funds can pour into your trust because you don't own it anymore. You still control it, and then they can pass to the beneficiaries. Power of attorney. This grants legal authority to another person used when you're unable or unavailable to act for yourself. So I mentioned I was in the hospital. The reason that it was so crucial we got it done at that moment was I was going in for my first surgery, which was called an Impella. It was a machine that goes into me and it pumps my heart for me. It's actually really cool, other than the fact that I had to, put it in my body. And that I was going into the first surgery I've ever had in my life. And I didn't know if I was going to come out of it. They said, really high chance. There was like a 10% chance of death of this, because you're going into somebody's heart and you just never know. But if something were to happen and I was in a comatose state and I couldn't make these decisions, we didn't have the documentation. I hadn't put together my advanced health directives, which we'll get into in a minute. Healthcare, proxy, medical power of attorney. That's that portion. The other one's financial. We all have loved ones that have gotten a little bit older. And sometimes, I've got family members that stopped remembering things, had Alzheimer's, these types of things. And when that happens and they go to that, if they have financial power of attorney and they have bills and stuff that need to be paid, they've now designated someone that can pay those bills for them. They can't take advantage of them because there's constraints on what they can do. But based on if they can't make those decisions, they have someone that they've designated to do that. And there's a power of attorney document for that. The living will and advanced health directives. This is what I was talking about a second ago. These are things that nobody wants to think about. If I'm incapacitated, how do I want my care to look? Do I want them to pull the plug if there's no chance? Do I want them to keep me on a respirator? Do I want them to keep me alive as long as possible? Do I want to have comfort care if something does happen to me? Do I want to donate my organs? I'm a heart transplant recipient. So if you guys aren't organ donators, I'm going to real quick placate, please, be a donor. It saved my life. It saved many people I know. In fact, the young gentleman that passed away was 16 years old that gave me his heart. 7 other people got his organs. And I've gotten a chance to meet the mother, just a beautiful family, and it was tragic. But, you know, it was so amazing to see the lives that Abraham was his name touched. Living will and advanced health directives. So beneficiary designations. So this is a legal document that specifies who receives certain assets. So life insurance, retirement accounts, bank accounts, home rental properties. This is very important because you want to make sure that you've said, okay, if you have children, this is who I want to receive my stuff. But in many different ways, you can split everything equally. You can have a favorite child and give them more of it. You can give it to a loved one if you don't have children. You can make sure that it's given to whoever you want. You can give it to charity if you'd like. You know, my wife's uncle, in fact, did very, very well for himself, and 90% of everything that he has when he dies, millions and millions of dollars, is going to charity. And he's already designated that through his trust. So that might be something that people would want to do. Guardianship for minor children and special needs. Anybody know anybody who's got special needs children or special need adults? It's a very important thing to have this in place because, especially as they get into adulthood, if you want to qualify for certain programs in Medicaid, you can only make so much money, right? So if you don't have it in a trust and it's not being distributed to that, it actually counts towards money that you have, and it can disqualify you from care that you really need that the government will provide. So that's one of the things the document does. Education and housing typically are based on that as well. They can only make so much money to have subsidized housing and those types of things. Asset protection. So strategies to shield wealth, creditors, lawsuits, taxes, probate. You know what? We've all had loved ones that have passed away, and we've seen family deal and grieve. Put yourself in that position. Would you want to have to deal with all of those issues of arranging a funeral, getting everything in place, calling loved ones, notifying, dealing with creditors calling and bills being paid and all of this stuff? Nobody wants to deal with that, right? So that's one way that it helps protect assets. And then a pour-over will. So this is a safety net. So this is anything so we help you fund everything when we do estate planning, meaning that we help you put that in the vault and give you the paperwork. But let's say, for example, since we haven't done your review yet in between the year, like Darwin, he just had twins, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we need to get the twins added, and we're going to do that, right? So that's something in the annual review. Your life's going to be changing. So we want to make sure that assets are added, that beneficiaries are added, and things are changing. But if something happens, and let's say we hadn't changed it recently, the pour-over will helps to move those things in the trust and to have a legal document to at least help that not go through probate. And sometimes it still will, but it'll minimize the outcome of that, and your beneficiaries will get their stuff faster. It also streamlines everything and makes it private. Here's one thing about probate, and I know there's a slide that's going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it now anyway. It makes all of your assets public. Can you imagine, let's say, many, many years from now, you guys pass away and you've done really well for yourself, but you didn't have something like this in place, and your assets go to probate and your beneficiaries are waiting. What happens is now open up to the public. So anybody can make a claim against your trust. And we'll get into a couple of famous people here in a second that this happened to. And what that means is the court has to decide not to give it to them. The biggest one I ever saw, so I was doing an estate plan, and this gentleman's name is Ramon, just an amazing guy. He's older, 78 years old. Had one done years and years ago, but needed me to restate it. A lot of life things happened for him at that point in time. So I helped him get his stuff redone. And I said, so what prompted you to do this? Well, I was the executor, not the trustee, because there was no trust in place, but I was the executor for my niece in California. My niece in California passed away. She had a lot of assets and a lot of money. And this was 2 years ago at this point in time. This was later last year, but 2 years prior. And it still hadn't been settled. And over 60 people came out of the woodworks to make a claim against her estate. Right? It's not theirs. It's not who she wants to receive these things. But he told me that. I'm like, ugh, it's a horror story. But I'm going to talk about it. All right, so estate planning is for everyone. And this is something a lot of people have a misconception about. It's like, oh, I don't need an estate plan. And here's reasons why, right? And I want you to listen as I read these off, and then I'm going to see who resonates with what. So haven't got around to it. Don't have enough assets. Too young. Don't know how. Too expensive to set up. No one to leave assets to, which, by the way, if you don't have anybody to leave assets to, I am a good, worthy candidate. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Too much debt. Of all those, do we have any brave souls that would like to say why they don't have theirs done? All right, Dustin.
Well, I didn't have any assets until recently, and then now I just haven't gotten around to it.
Awesome. Okay, love it. Thank you, Ben.
I'm too young.
You are young, but no. So the reality is many people think that this is only for super wealthy people, right? Having this stuff in place, or they think that it's way too expensive. We charge normally $19.95 to get all this done, help you fund it. And tonight we're doing it for $17.95, and we're donating $250 to McKenna. But it's a pretty nominal fee for what we do. So it's not crazy expensive. But no, anybody that has young children or assets they want to give to beneficiaries, or things, if they, at minimum, a house that they want to put into a trust, things that they have in retirement accounts, this is necessary. It's for you. So why estate planning matters? So these are the famous folks. Anybody recognize those folks? All right, so I'm going to walk you through each one of these. This is Aretha Franklin. Everybody knows R-E-S-P-C-T, right? Anybody else think she didn't say the second E, R-E-S-P-E-C-T? I never heard the second E. Go home and listen to that song tonight, and you're going to be like, yeah, he's right. Anyway, she died in 2000. Right? R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
No, I heard it.
You're okay. All right. Also, but I mean, I heard Brad completely wrong earlier, right? So it just might be the way my brain works. So Aretha, though, she passed away in 2018. Her estate was worth $80 million. It's a lot of money, right? $80 million. She had been around a long time, lots of amazing records. Settled in 2023, estate was now worth $6 million. Due to legal fees, unpaid taxes, and admin costs. She didn't have these things in place. King of Pop, everybody knows King Pop. All right, Michael Jackson died in 2009. $2 billion was his estate. Not settled to this day completely yet. Now, why is that? Well, let me tell you, people with high net worth, and eventually some of you in this room will be high net worth. The state likes to get their money. The federal government likes to get their money. So they want to make sure everything's evaluated properly when they get their hands on it, when there's not a trust in place and those assets aren't made available. Well, that's what happened to him. So legal fees, family disputes, IRS valuation of estate's worth, that's what's delayed that. And then we've got, who's this guy? He was the king of pop. What is this guy's name? Nickname? Prince of Pop?
Yeah.
The artist known as Prince. I don't know. I thought he had another nickname. Prince of Darkness. No, that was Ozzy. He just passed. Different guy. It is too soon. I've been listening to No More Tears all day. No, I'm just kidding. But he died in 2016. $156.4 million. Settled in 2022. 6 of his half-siblings named legal heirs in the estate, divided accordingly. Probate court did that to him. Do you think he wanted to give his half-siblings that much money? Any of you guys have half-siblings?
Mm-hmm.
You want to give them that kind of money? No, I'm totally kidding. I'm actually, all of my brothers and sisters are half, so of course, they're going to be there, but yeah, we don't all love them as much, right?
So none of those 3 named had estate plans.
No, so they didn't have the proper documentation. They might have had a trust, but they didn't have their assets funded in the trust.
And this is why people are coming to the woodworks to try to challenge.
You got it. Yeah, because anything that's not funded in that trust and doesn't have the proper documentation goes public. And that's when the courts come in, and unfortunately, that's where it gets kind of ugly. So whether you think you do or you don't, everyone has a plan, an estate plan. Either you plan or the state plans for you. There we go. So when the state decides, we talked a little bit about probate court. Now, It says 6 to 12 months for simple things, moderate estate 12 to 8 months, complex estates 1 to 3 years. What I've seen is generally minimum 6 months, but it can take many, many years to get things settled and assets to be distributed. In that time, think of all of the fees that are being racked up. Think of all of the creditors that are coming out of nowhere that can happen during that time. That's where it can be challenging. Number 2, probate fees. So the average fees, now it says 3 to 8%, but actually the average fee is 8% of the estate goes to court fees, attorneys. And think about that. Let's just use easy numbers. Say $1 million estate. It's $80,000 that's going to people that are just filing paper and putting you in the court system. Court filings, attorney fees, executors. That's what makes that up. Loved ones in limbo. Yeah, skip number 3. We'll go back. Family disputes. Disputes can occur when wishes are made without sound judgment, right? Because I'm in this business, 2 things that I don't necessarily enjoy all the time is, number 1, half my conversations are about death, which is never fun. Like, your ultimate demise. Let's make sure we have these safety nets in place. But the other one is when somebody does have something happen and they talk about fighting with their significant other about maybe siblings that they were going to give stuff to, or maybe they're divorced and they've got kids and they're trying to divvy up these assets, or maybe it's just normal family stuff and funerals happened and people are like fighting over, oh, I want grandma's this, or I want grandpa's this, and all that kind of stuff. That can happen if it's not documented and made very clear what your wishes are for your loved ones. And then keeping them in limbo. No access to bank accounts, bills, mortgage, utilities go unpaid. That's actually happens quite a bit. And some, Darwin, I don't know if you've ever dealt with this, but like somebody who's passed away and like maybe one of the homes and stuff that you've had, what I've heard is that unless the electricity bill is paid by a power of attorney, sometimes it doesn't get paid and like it just goes dark and they don't even know who to get a hold of, right? Assets may be frozen until court appoints executor. That's not an if, it's almost always frozen until an executor is appointed and beneficiaries can be dished out. All right, so the debt also doesn't die when you do, when it comes to probate. The average person has approximately $62,000 in debt when they pass away. All right, and that's credit card, that's mortgage, a bunch of different things here, auto loans, student loans. What you want to do is you want to make sure, now granted, the trustee can liquidate assets, they have the ability to do that, and they can pay these things, but what you don't want to happen is for these people to make a claim and to slow the process even more and to put liens on things that then would further keep your family from getting your, their due portion of the estate. Who pays your debt? Well, the estate pays first, right? So final expenses, secured debts, unsecured debts, taxes owed, all that stuff is going to be paid directly from the estate. So if it goes to probate, they pay all that stuff before they say, here's what's left, rather than the trust being able to pay these things and make payment plans and do all of these types of things. Otherwise, it just gets liquidated and boom, they're just handing out cash like Oprah. You get money and you get money and you get money. You guys all too young for Oprah? No. All right. All right. When you decide, the heart of estate planning is love. It's a clear picture in place, ease the burden. It focuses on supporting one another, avoids the courtroom, and it gives you peace of mind. Knowing this is in place. It's funny. I was doing a signing this morning with someone we did the plan. Tammy, she's a good friend. She owns a boot camp in Awatuki. And, she said, I feel like an adult. And I'm like, and she's a little older than me. And we were laughing. I said, you know how often I hear that? When people are like, they get their estate plan or they get life insurance. I feel like I'm an adult. Yeah, you want to have these things in place, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's not a great dinner conversation, right? So not left to chance. 70% of trusts are improperly funded. The actual stat is 68% of trusts don't have anything in them. Meaning, we've set all the documents up, we've got everything ready in that vault, we never put anything in it. And that's why we're in the business, in the retirement business, we help you make sure all that stuff, do that with you. I have a lot of attorney friends, and number one, they don't really like doing estate planning. Half of the ones I know that are friends, they actually send them to me now, but they don't do all the funding paperwork. Not only are they more expensive, but a lot of times like, cool, here's your checklist. That's what you need to do to fund it, rather than here's paperwork, here's where it goes, here's who you need to talk to, take this in, yada, 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 because they're more churn and burn. That's not what we do. We want to develop a relationship to have this in place and help you and your family and your loved ones, friends, family, with everything else, right? So keeps it private, like we mentioned. Immediate access to assets, which is amazing. Controlled distributions. So let's talk about young ones, right? Anybody in here have kids under 18? Okay. So, if something were to happen to you, you don't want the kids just to, like, you guys remember Richie Rich back in the day? Yeah. You don't want them just to be like, woo, pile of cash. That's not how it works anyway. You've said, hey, here's the custodians. The custodians now do that. But you can say, hey, when they turn 18, we want them to get this portion of it. When they turn 21 or 22 or whatever you want to dictate, they can get this portion. Then you can also say, hey, if they get married, they can take a portion then. Or if they want to buy a home, they can get early distribution for that. If they want to use it for school or a mission or whatever, you can delegate exactly what they can take early distribution for. And you can make sure that they're not just going to be flooded with cash when they turn 18. Protection for minors or special needs. Again, we talked a little bit about this. This is very important to make sure that trust will distribute funds to where it's not going to knock them out of care that they would be getting from the government that they may need. So this is a big marriage, divorce, remarriage, birth, or adoption of children or grandchildren, death of spouse, child, trustee or beneficiary, move, right? Your assets change. Half of you guys are in the real estate business, right? You guys are buying and selling homes all the time. Everybody who buys and sells a home, if they have a trust, they need to update that. They need, one moves out, right? And that usually the title company will help take care of that, the transaction. But the new one needs to be quitclaimed into the trust if that's not what's designated right off the bat, right? Inherit money or receive financial windfall. I met with a gentleman yesterday. In fact, it was really good needs analysis, and he's got some parents that have done pretty well for themselves out of California, and he's the heir apparent of all their stuff. They're also not in great health. So at some point, he's going to get a windfall of cash. When he gets that windfall of cash, we want to make sure that we have things in place for him to be able to put it in the right places so that he's not getting huge tax bills and those types of things. So it makes easier distribution directly to him into his trust. And then your wishes change, right? Beneficiaries. One of them might piss you off, right? Sometimes you got to disinherit people. By the way, let me back up on that. If you do have a blood child that isn't listed, you have to disinherit them if you don't want them to get anything. And this can be for a variety of different reasons. Don't need to go into it, drugs, whatever. But I don't want them to get anything. You actually have to list them as disinherited to make sure that they can't make a claim. Because if they are a child, they can make a claim. But if it's disinherited, it won't go anywhere, okay? And then adds protections for beneficiary, change, trustee, or guardian or selection. So every year, here's how we work. We set up everything. We get everything funded. We give you a nice little binder. We have a soft copy that goes into your portal when we set that up. And then every year, we do a review. And I usually will email you before the year's up. It's like, hey, what's changed? Or if I'm friends with you on Facebook or we do business like Darwin, I'm like, hey, let's get the kids in there. Right? I'm proactive about that. All of our advisors are. Got amazing advisors that arrive because we want to make sure everything is up to date as possible. So once a year we do that. There's no additional charge for that. We don't make any charges actually for helping you update it on a yearly basis. All part of the one-time fee because it's a relationship we want to continue with you. All right. So I'm done talking, but I'd love to open it up for questions. So any questions you would like to talk about estate planning? Not my personal life. No, I'm kidding.
I'll turn it. I'm out of questions.
Oh, awesome. But what question?
Would you make the trust beneficiary to your assets and then like make your children the beneficiary of the trust?
That's a great question. So how it works is the assets that are funded in your trust, like your home, things with a title on it, those the trust owns outright. But your bank accounts, your financial accounts, your life insurance, you add that as a beneficiary. And that as a beneficiary, what happens is that money, those funds will then pour into the trust, and then your beneficiaries you've designated then will receive those things. So that's kind of the process of that. Good question.
And then will he still receive or have to pay inheritance tax regardless if you have a trust or not?
So the inheritance tax actually is very liberal when it comes to the gifting tax. It just got re-upped. It was supposed to sunset, so to speak. But most things that are received are not going to have huge tax implications. Give you an example. If you received a home, for example, and that home had been in the family for years and years, it was bought at $100,000, but now it's worth fair market value of $400,000, but that was passed to you. They have what's called a step-up basis. What that means is instead of you paying taxes on this $300,000, you're now going to pay tax on anything that's sold over the $400,000 because it's going to step up to the fair market value. So there's a lot of different tax things, and we have great CPAs that we work with as well. I'm pretty well versed in it, but yeah, it's pretty nice how things pass without huge tax implications. Ben.
How do you move the assets into the trust? So we set one up, I have a trust with you, and then I'm continuing to gain more assets. So am I purchasing those assets through the trust, or am I purchasing them individually and then they're falling into the trust because they have it set up?
Great question. So individually, when let's say you go open up another bank account and you put money in there because you've just started another business. What generally people will do is they'll shoot me an email like, great, awesome. I'll give you a piece of paper to take into your bank to add that as a beneficiary. And that's it. You just take that in there. Home, though, we do what's called a quick claim. It's a pretty simple document that we fill out, and it says it moves into John Doe's name into John Doe's trust. And we send that in like here in Maricopa County Recorder Office. We give you the paperwork that's all done. We get it notarized. You throw a $30 check in there. We give you a UPS label that's overnighted. Boom. And within 2 weeks, they move it directly in the trust for you.
What about finance vehicles or vehicles in general?
So if it's vehicles that you personally own that you have no payments on, those would be a titled asset that we would say, you go down to the MVD or one of the little offshoots, say, hey, I need to retitle this in the trust name. They'll help you do that, right? Small fees. I don't even know how much it is, not very much. Then you will let us know. We will prepare a document that you will give your insurance company. That way they know that the vehicle is now in a trust, so that if there ever was an accident and whatnot, they can't not pay out the claim. They know that the trust owns it and it's still under you. So we provide all that documentation as well. But we do say only vehicles that are paid off would you put into the trust, because if it's not paid off, what has to happen is your lender, the lien holder, so to speak, they actually have to sign off on you putting in the trust if you still owe money on it. So it's not really worth the time to do that. Great question.
Do you have a will that goes along with the trust to dictate how the trust works?
Yes. So that's actually part of the estate plan, which is the will and testament, right? So that's going to say, that's really where all the beneficiaries are in the documents. And then it's saying, here's the trust, here's how things are divvied up. But that's what the will is in place of. Also, it covers things like end of life. Do you want a funeral? Do you want a cremation? Do you want, a Star Spangled Banner? It's your, we document all that stuff, right?
But it can say he can receive an allowance each month.
Yes.
From the trust.
Yes. Yeah. And how that works, that's always a good question, because let's say you have young children and God forbid something happened to a person before that young children reaches 18. Well, they've already designated, hey, here's who's going to take care of that person. That person then, if they're not the trustee themselves, will work with the trustee and they'll say, hey, we need funds for schooling, for clothes and those types of things. And the trustee has access to be able to divvy those funds to the custodian. I always recommend, if possible, have those people separate, because then there is that accountability that's there. But yes, and they can distribute and all of those types of things. We can get in. We usually leave that to the discretion of the trustee, because that's someone that you trust, that you've said, yeah, they'll take care of the finances correctly, and they can't pocket any of the money. So, great question. All right, any other questions?
Sorry, one last
Ben, no. Oh, and then we got one in the back. I'll take you.
If you own land and you haven't yet built your home yet, maybe put the land into the trust first and then the home later?
Great question. So one of my clients, Donna, actually, I just did this for her. She bought a piece of land and she's not looking to build on it for 2 years, but she sent me all the paperwork. We did the same process. Hers is in Pinal County. We prepared the quitclaim for her, and it's the same process. So yeah, you definitely want to put that in there. And then once you get the house, we'll just put that into the trust name right away. So. Good.
Sorry, I was just asking about like LLCs and that kind of stuff. With the estate plan, do you assist in setting up LLCs to further yourself from the estate plan and the probate to make sure that if you do have multiple children, some people do want to leave their stepchildren something that's different than their, other children.
Yeah.
So do you do that LLC or would you just have a fully separate estate plan for that?
So you can really, through that estate plan, you can designate all of that stuff because you can say what beneficiaries get. But to answer a question that's right around what you're talking about, LLCs, who in here owns a business? All right. So when you own a business, we do what's called an assignment. There's different ways to do this, but this is the best way unless your business is like a really large $50+ million company. The assignment, what it is, a document that says, if something happens to me, the principal, my portion of this goes into the trust. Sometimes we fund it with life insurance. We'll have a policy that will assist with that. Sometimes the interest just goes directly in there. What's nice about that is you don't have to document that. It's notarized, it's in there. We have a document, but you don't have to document with the state that you're in. And it makes it passing a lot easier through that. So we prepare those assignments. And then I've been in business a long time. I've helped a lot of people set up LLCs. Normally I just do that for free. Don't tell my attorney friends. They're like, I hate you. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you shouldn't charge $2,000 to set up something that takes 15 minutes. But so if you need LLCs for businesses or whatever, you always come to me. I'm happy to help. Oh, good question. Any other questions? All right, so I think I got that done, and look at that, 40 minutes. Thank you guys for coming. Before we wrap up, I'm just going to go over a couple documents in here. So I already mentioned, as far as pricing, normally it's $19.95. So you're not in this room right now, or you're not watching on the live stream, and no recorded live stream, people. It is normally $19.95. But today we are doing it because we're working with the Darwin Wall team, and they've invited a lot of folks here. $17.95. You're going to see a document in here. Should be in the right folder pocket. And this here is going to have an estate plan payment authorization form. How you want to pay for it, credit card, debit card, $17.95. If you Zelle it, we do a $50 off because that's really the processing fee that we take. We also have financing due to approval, of course. We use Klarna for that. So if somebody's like, I can't, pay for it all at once, we do have financing options. You can put your card there, Zelle, fill out the information, sign that. If you want to get started, here's the process. So if you fill this out, we set up your online portal. Set up your online portal. It makes that payment. We put in some basic information about you. Once that's done, you guys will have two other documents here in your left pocket. The first one is going to be all the things we talked about as far as your beneficiaries, your executor, your trustee. It's going to have your address. It's going to have a whole bunch of things about your advanced health directives that you'll fill out in there. The document behind that is going to be your funding kit. This is going to be any bank accounts you have. This is going to be all of your investment accounts, your 401k at work, your life insurance. It's going to be the homes you own. It's going to be the vehicles you own, if you own vehicles outright, businesses, those types of things. You'll fill that out. Once the portal is all set up and you get this back to us, and then you get this portion back to us, we go in, we set up all the paperwork, and we schedule a quick 15-minute review with you. That's just over a video call. We make sure everything's in there correctly as you wanted. And then once you're like, yep, great, we prepare all the paperwork, and then we assign a time for you to come in. It takes about 45 minutes to get everything notarized. We have a notary here. Come into the office. We've already got everything flag tagged. Usually we're half the time we have everything signed for you. So all you have to do is come in, get everything signed. Once that's done, you'll leave with a nice book. But we scan everything up into your portal to make sure there's a soft copy always. And then every year we will do the review from there. So any questions on any of that stuff? There's not. No, there was a talk eventually of like doing like a $50 a year fee just for the software that we utilize, because one of the things people ask, like, are you an attorney? I'm like, well, no, but we actually use the exact software that attorneys use. Everything's reviewed there. And most of my attorneys refer them to me, but that's the only software fee right now. There's nothing like that. So, and we'll probably waive it in the future as well. So, any other questions on this? Good. Awesome. So if you guys are ready to get started, you can fill that paperwork out. You can give it to us. We will get that done. And again, we're very grateful you guys came out. McKenna, thank you for coming. We'll make sure that we get those donations over to you. And you know what? If you don't decide that you want to go through an estate plan, there is a link to a GoFundMe for McKenna. Donate anything you can, right? I've been not in the same shoes, but I've been in the hospital. I've been in, a position where I didn't know where the next dollar was coming. So I can appreciate that. So anything you guys can do can help. So thank you guys for coming tonight.